Nerdist. I am super excited to talk about this book. I'm sure your copies look just as battered and bruised as these ones. I think one of the most exciting things that I've read so far about this show is that there are at least 8 seasons planned out already. Is that true?
Sure.
There's a lot of source material to pick from. So.
I mean, we plan to adapt all of the books, and how many seasons that ends up being, to be determined. But I mean, obviously, our goal is to take it all the way to the end.
What is your relationship with this book and this series? Because I feel like over the last few decades, people have become really obsessed with it. It's got a bit of a reputation for being quite the journey, just reading the books. How have you found it trying to adapt it all?
I think, early on, it was very challenging to sort of, present this, 12,000 page series and sort of, really sort of condense it into something that, this is what the show is going to be. And it was really Rafe. Even myself for reading the books, but Rafe, when he first sort of came in and said, here's what the show is, here's who the characters are, this is why it's special. And it was really his presentation that I think made it all crystallized for myself and also for, our studio partners at Sony and Amazon.
What was it like having Rosamund Pike come on board as a producer? Obviously, when sort of like the lead is that invested in it, it's a very promising feeling.
It's wonderful. I mean, she is incredibly invested. She's been living out in Prague and living, eating and breathing Moraine. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. She loves the series and very passionate about it. So it's a real bonus.
I wouldn't mind talking about the casting, especially of sort of like the younger characters, very unknown sort of actors, all kind of coming to their own as these characters. What was that like? Is there a reason why you wanted to get unknown, like fresh slate, fresh faces out there to kind of embody these roles?
Look, I think it's like you have, you didn't want to bring any sort of baggage to those iconic characters, especially for the fans. I mean, it was really important for Rafe to, have them be that blank slate, but also have them be in what he'd always imagined these characters to be. And the search for this young cast was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people until finally a combination came together that I think all of us just said, this is it. We just kind of all had that feeling.
Yeah, and they're all young. I mean, they're 24.
Yeah, that's important too.
They are young. So, when you're casting young, most of them have not done anything, but it's exciting. I mean, that's what you, like said, you don't want them to come with any baggage.
I think that as an audience, we're all kind of trying to fill the hole that Game of Thrones left, which was sort of one of the more successful fantasy TV shows that were adapted. Why do you think high fantasy is now in such demand?
People want to have an escapist experience. I mean, I think, a show that sort of, shines a fine light on the problems of the world that we're all experiencing is less exciting to me than just, kicking back and watching something that takes me away to another world. That's my personal opinion.
I agree.
Already renewed for season 2. How exciting is that, sort of like premiering a show already knowing that it's successful to get enough to get the second season before anyone's seen it?
Yeah, no, amazing. And obviously we're about 12 weeks into filming season 2 and we're still delivering in London right now, season 1. So, and it's premiering very soon. So yeah, no, really exciting, very exciting. And hopefully season 1 will be a huge hit and we'll get season 3 commissioned.
I want to talk about sort of the casting of this, because over the last decades, people have really kind of envisioned the characters for this. And then, of course, it's up to this show to say, here they are.
Our process of casting was really casting the net wide and all over the world. I mean, I myself watched hundreds and hundreds of tapes for each of the core roles, and our casting director watched thousands. So we really wanted to, because I also know the books and love the books, like I needed to see someone that when I saw them, I knew that they were this character, that you just felt it in a really like purely instinctual way. We would just see people until I had that feeling about someone. And it was really finding someone who truly felt like that character and like embodied them. And then also is a good enough actor to be able to act against Rosamund Pike, and there's not a lot of people who are. So finding those two things in someone meant we really like dug all over the world and found this cast that, I mean, you've seen them, but like our cast is one of the shining points of the show. Like they're so incredible and so beautifully bring to life these characters that I loved.
We're looking at sort of like, if you start this story, it's a very ambitious thing to do because you want to see it through. I've heard that there are at least 8 seasons mapped out. Is that true?
That's the idea. It's just the way my brain works. I have a very hard time telling a story without knowing where I'm landing. And for the Wheel of Time, the books have an amazing ending. Like I want to make sure that we get there correctly. So in figuring out how to do the first season, the only way I could do that was by figuring out what the whole series might look like. And obviously will change. I'm sure we'll make shifts. If we're lucky enough to get to tell the whole story, you know, then there will be shifts from those little original ideas I had on my own sketching out on napkins. But I think that for my brain and how it works, like I have to know where I'm landing and how I'm getting us there in order to tell the story at the beginning correctly.
The fact that season 2 is already renewed must be such a confident feeling coming into the premiere of the show. What was it like though? I'd like to talk about some of the highlights and the lowlights of having to get this show off the ground, because I know that for season 2 already we're recasting one of the main characters. How is that kind of like, you know, knowing already a season ahead when we haven't even premiered some of these big changes?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's such a massive show and we're making it in a time in the world where things are more unstable than they ever have been before for producing a television show like this. So, you know, I just try to go with all of the things that I can't control and just protect the show and make sure that I'm delivering these characters and this story from the books as best as I can to screen. It's amazing having a network like Amazon that does believe in us so much that they have us back up and in production before the first season's even premiered, but also the reality of making something at this scale with the number of VFX we have, we're really making almost 4 movies back to back. So, you know, we kind of need to be doing it now if we're going to be on air within 18 months of you having seen the first season. So the undertaking of shows like this is so gigantic that you do have to always be thinking not just 2 steps ahead, but like 7 steps ahead of how you're going to get there. Because to move the machinery of a production like this is like moving the machinery of 4 movies simultaneously.
That's my time. Thanks so much for the chat.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.